Welcome back to Pathways to Wealth. This episode is really special because it deals with a story that a lot of first-time entrepreneurs can relate to, which is how do you replace your current income with an entrepreneurial venture? And John Rampton did that multiple times. So he was working at a company and talks about how he created a blog and built a business that he was earning 3 times what his job was paying him, and then how he ultimately went on to build a company and sell it, which he parlayed into a massive social media following, and now is a top writer for a lot of publications like Entrepreneur, Forbes, Inc., and the list goes on and on. So for anybody that has an interest in blogging or building an internet business, or just understanding the common success traits of entrepreneurs, you want to listen through to this whole interview because John is a really smart guy, has been there, done that, and proven himself, and just shares a wealth of knowledge. So enjoy. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Pathways to Wealth. Today, I have a really exciting interview. I've been following this guy on social media for quite a while now, and John Rampton is an entrepreneur, author. He is a contributing writer for pretty much everybody, entrepreneur.com, Forbes, Inc., Huffington Post. John founded, is it Adigi? Is that how you pronounce it?
Correct. Yep.
And then the company that I think you sold is it Pixeloo?
Correct. Yep.
Nice. So, John, kind of fill in any holes, or was there anything that I missed?
I mean, that's pretty good.
Nice. So take me back, like, how did you get started as an entrepreneur? And where are you today? Let's just kind of walk through, I guess, chronologically how that process looks.
Yeah. So, I mean, my story kind of started off when I was younger. I was the kid that I love money. Like, let's start off right. Like, I love money. I love what it can do for you. I love what it can do to your life. And where it can take you. So from a young age, I loved money and I loved seeing it in my bank account. So, from a young age, like I had a paper route at like the age of 9. Like I had a candy stand at like 12 that I ended up like opening several of these candy shops when I was younger, mainly because like I could, and I could pay my buddies like $1.50 a day and a candy bar, and they would make me like $20. And I was like, hey, $20 a day at this stand, I'm making 60, $80 a day as a little kid.
So baller money for
I was doing great. Like sold my first franchise, my first company at the age of 14. I mean, it was awesome, right? But it wasn't like, I love seeing companies scale up and like, being able to, see that, but I love money and what it can do for you. And I think that's a big motivator in my life. And, I just like, it's not to like, I mean, I love to travel. I love to have actually, I don't really care as much about cars. I don't care about this, but I love seeing it in my bank account.
So you love the tool of money. You love knowing that you can have it to use it and to spend it.
Oh yeah. It's awesome. Money is awesome. Like there's nothing better. Like, I mean, those people who say like, money is this, you don't need this. You need money to live on. Like you can't live without money. Like, so I want a lot of it. I want to live.
I love how you're unapologetic about that, man, because so many people like to pussyfoot around and say like, oh man, like you don't, like you said, you don't need money. You need money. It's the most important damn tool, especially if you're an entrepreneur or an investor. Like, let's not be shy about it.
Oh yeah. I mean, even if you're not, even if you're a charity, your charity can't survive. Like, I mean, there's it's not that I like money to just go travel the world. I mean, you look at some of the biggest charities in the world and they're made by the biggest, most rich and powerful people out there. Like if you want to form the best charity that's going to help millions of people, you need a lot of money to do that. So, I mean, there's other things. It's not just like, I want this to do this. No, you need money to be able to do those things. So
yeah. Money is definitely like the most important tool that we have next to time, right? Because when time is like the only asset that's depleting and going away. So how have you made money and how are you making money today?
Yeah. So, I'm an entrepreneur, so I take big gambles, big risks. I'm always trying new things. So, some ways that I've made money, in the past, obviously a candy stand. When I was working at my full-time job, probably, I don't know, whatever it was, years back, I was working at my full-time job and I had a blog on the side. And this blog, like, I was like, I originally started it off to make an extra $100 a month. Who wouldn't love an extra $100 a month?
And what job were you working at the time?
I was working at a hosting company. So I was doing their marketing, a 9-to-5 job. I actually finagled my hours to work from 7 to 3 so I could focus on my own stuff at night. But, I'm working a regular 9-to-5 job. Gotcha. And then on the side, I'm working an extra hour, 2 hours a day on my blog. And I'm just blogging about what I'm passionate about and stuff like that. And, I don't make anything for my first 6 months. And I'm working my tail off on this thing. And then I'm like, I really should either, buckle down on this or quit.
And was this your personal blog, Jon Rampton? Or
yeah, this was a site called, it wasn't johnrampton.com. It was called like Techie Mania. Some random I was writing about tech things and like reviewing products and stuff like that. I love electronics, so I would review stuff and do stuff like that. So about after 9 months, I'm like, 6 months, I was like, oh my word, I need to figure this out. And then I started reading people who are making money online and money blogging. And I started reading all the guides, listening to the podcast, reading the posts. And after about 3 months, I went from making nothing to like $100, $200, maybe even $300 a month. And I was like, man, I'm doing great, right?
How were you generating that revenue?
That was through either ad sales on the site or AdSense or selling affiliate products or stuff like that. Randomly, I mean, it would $100 to $300. And then it started taking off. And I started being like, this blog legitimately is making me money. You saw
the opportunity to like quit your job or make this like a full-time thing.
Yeah. So I saw the opportunity to quit my job. And then I had like people coming to me and being like, hey, I want to pay you to teach me how to do this. And I was like, well, I'm not making very much. And they're like, I don't care. All I want to make is an extra $100. And then I started getting it ranked, and my income went from 300 to, at my year mark, I was making about $2,500 with my blog a month. That's just in ads. And then I was making at least another $5,000 to $10,000 in consulting. And that's all off this little blog. I was making the time double outside of work than what I was inside of work. I was still scared to quit my job. I actually ended up working at my job for a complete 6 or 7 months after that.
So you worked there for half a year after your side hustle was making more money than your primary job.
Double. When I left,
Nice.
When I left my job, I was making triple outside my job than I was inside my job.
Nice.
And it was because of that fear. Yeah. It's really weird. And I talk with so many people who are in the same situation. They're just afraid of that, losing that comfort.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see that you could do that as a side business. What year was that?
That was like 2006, 2007. Somewhere in that range.
And how long did it take you to get to that point where you were making like double or triple your income?
It took me, I was blogging. When I started my blog, I was blogging 2 to 3 times a day. Because I'm like, hey, I'm just going to go for this and review all the products. 6 months of doing blogging 2 to 3 days, Monday through Monday, I was not making $1. Mm-hmm. But then month 6, I started really figuring it out. And pay attention to people out there. There's really good people who blog about this stuff who can teach you. Like one of my mentors is Zach Johnson. I downloaded his guide. I followed it step by step. And he got me to that first 300. And then I started paying attention to what other people were doing. And that got me up and up and up and up. And then I started I got it. Within about, from that 6 month mark, within a year, I had tripled my income from what I was making at the current time to that. So, I mean, in a matter of 18 months, I was making great money doing what I was doing.
It took you 6 months to get the momentum going, but once that built,
once you have momentum, it really starts going. And that's the same with most businesses. Most businesses out there, I mean, this is for all the entrepreneurs out there. If you're building something, it's not going to make money day one. And if it does, good job. Keep going. Hammer that and get more. But if it doesn't make money, like, obviously, like, keep going and working at it. You'll get to a point where it's like, if you've spent 3 years doing this and it hasn't made anything, like, you really need to reevaluate or change what you're doing.
Yeah, I
But
feel like
like,
there's kind of a balance between like knowing like, hey, I'm hustling and I'm putting in the time and I need to be smart about it and be patient versus, okay, I've been doing this long enough and it's not working. When do you pivot or give up? Right. I feel like a lot of people are unclear with that. Some people give up too early and some people just beat an idea to death that's not working.
yeah, yep. Yeah, you got to find that healthy balance, and really only you can do that. I mean, at the time, I mean, other things factor into this. I mean, when I was working at my job, again, this is getting more into like money and stuff like that. Like, I was driving the nice BMW. I lived in the nice house. I did all these things, and I realized, like, when I started reading like how to make money online and becoming a true entrepreneur, that's when I was like, maybe I should, instead of paying that $500-600 BMW payment every month, plus you go through tires on those things like nothing else, being a single guy, and like I found my expenses. I mean, were like, I lived in Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah, and my expenses were like $2,000 a month as a single dude.
Oh
And
man.
like over that first 6 months, when I was blogging, I was like, this isn't a lifestyle I want to do. I sold the BMW. I paid cash for a Ford Focus, an old Ford Focus. I like moved out of the expensive house and I rented. I took my expenses from a couple $1,000s a month to, I think I was at like $500 a month. Not everybody
Man,
can
that's
do that.
insanely lean. Were you eating like ramen every day?
Dude, there's different ways. I mean, as a single dude, I rented the house, then I rented it out to everybody. It actually ended up paying me $200 a month. Like,
Nice.
as an entrepreneur, you do things, and that was as a single entrepreneur. Now that I'm married, I have a kid coming along. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And my expenses are obviously a lot higher. But,
Yeah.
You got to get lean as you can, and then build that out. But that was $2,000 a month that I could put in the bank for a rainy day.
Yeah. And
So,
use towards building your business.
and use towards building my business and building my credibility up. And I still do that today. I mean, I invest a large portion of whatever I make into myself and my business and what I'm working on.
Yeah,
So,
it's like I see some of these guys on social media that they'll buy like a Ferrari or like brag about like full of cash or something, and I look at that and I'm like, holy shit! Do you know what I could do with that amount of money? I could take that $200,000 Ferrari and parlay that into $1 million worth of real estate. So,
oh my word!
Like
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, there are lots of people that works for those people, and that's what so one of my good friends, he's in the stock trading world, is Timothy Sykes. Sykes, like, and he buys the Ferraris, and like I was chatting with him and he's all, John, you need to buy a Ferrari. So that would just elevate your brand by like 10x. And I was like, I don't need a Ferrari, dude. Like, I drive a Toyota Prius. Like, nothing special. Like, but man, I sure get like 50 some odd miles to the gallon, and I filled it up like, since I bought it, I filled it up like half a time, because it goes like 10 million miles. So, you just have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah, you have to be true to yourself. So I partnered with Tim on a few things, and I think he's a great guy. And I think why it works for him, the reason why it works for him is because that's who he is. Like, he loves that stuff. I really don't care. Like, I'm like, okay, I could go buy a Ferrari, but I think it would just come off as a facade because I really don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I went from the BMW to a Ford Focus, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, I was putting $1,000 more in my pocket every single month.
Nice.
Like, that's $1,000.
Mark Cuban said he was like crashing with like 5 or 6 guys, right?
Yep.
Just living lean, man.
Yeah, live lean.
Cool. So let's talk about the companies, how you started. Pixloo was the first one, right?
Yeah. So Pixloo started, I used to work at a company while I was in college. Actually, before the hosting company, I worked at a company who helped real estate agents sell their homes, sell homes online. Took videos, photos, stuff like that, helping people sell their homes online. But I noticed a fault, and they were not helping homeowners sell their homes online. So I quit there. I went and got another job. And while I was at the other job, while I was doing this blogging, I hired a developer and I started building a semi-competing product, and just waited for my non-compete to go out. My non-compete was 2 years. Literally on my 2-year mark, I launched this product. It went very, very well. I mean, I spent like every dime I had on it. I worked, my tail off on this thing, and it went very, very well. We got lots of customers, and it ended up, the software ended up being purchased. We had a patent at the time that ended up being purchased. And it went very, very well. It made me great money. It made my partner great money. That was really my launching pad. For me, it was, okay, I made a lot of money, but it wasn't as much that for me as I can do this. I can build something. And it gave me, like, I should have already had the confidence in myself, because, to go from nothing to, we almost had 100,000 customers in a month. Like,
Nice.
I mean, that takes a lot, but it really instilled in me that I can build amazing products and services. And since then, I've launched several different companies. I've had fun along the way and taken big gambles. Not all of them have paid off. From that money, I bought a company called Organize.com. We owned a lot of different properties, doing multi-million dollars in sales in e-commerce. And that company ultimately failed.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you're going to succeed just because you're, successful one time. And then, I started doing what I was really, really good at, because, I was beaten down. And then I went and started doing consulting work and, building up Adigi. And that got me to where I am today. And, since that, I've taken that money and transitioned it. And, I own a company called Due.com, DUE.com. And, it's an invoicing bill payment company. And that's like going very, very well. It has hundreds of thousands of customers. It's going great. But, all along the way, I go from failure to success and success to failure. But it's the entrepreneur inside of us that gets us back up and really moves us to the next gig.
I love that. Yeah. It's like, once you have that first success, it kind of validates you as an entrepreneur to yourself, right? It's like,
yeah, it's more to yourself, which it's really funny, because other people are like, they realize your success. Like, my blog was successful, but I viewed it as a failure. Like, 6 months I'm into it, I have 50, 80,000 people coming to this site every single month. All of them are reading my articles, and I'm still, I wasn't making any money. So I equated the money to success, which I should have equated the customers and the amazing interactions and the amazing people as success.
And influence. I mean,
and the
community like that is huge.
Correct. Yeah. So I think, my advice to every entrepreneur out there is find successes in the other things. And so I've always had this problem, and a lot of people as well have this problem, that kind of one of my quotes that you can use, but is never compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. Like, I find so many times that I'm in chapter 1 of my life, and I look at Bill Gates and I'm like, I am not successful. You just have to realize that person, I mean, he's in chapter like 3 billion or 65 billion. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. But like, you compare yourself to your neighbor who's in chapter 10 of their life, and you're in chapter 2. So stop comparing yourself to what they're doing and what you're doing, and start realizing the successes in your own life.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get caught up in that, right? To look at somebody and envy where they're at, or look at somebody else and say, wow, I'm further along than that person. It's like, forget all that and just focus on what you can do every single day to get one step closer to where you need to go.
Exactly.
Because all the other stuff is distracting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Nice. So, okay, so let's fast forward. So you sold the company, founded the other company, had some success, had some failure. Where are you at today? Like, with your revenue streams, is most of that coming from the company that you just founded? What was the name? Duo?
Yeah, Due.
So is that your main revenue source, or have you kind of split that up?
I mean, revenue sources for me are I have them all over the place. I have different investments that have made me money and are continuing to make me money. I diversify myself. I don't, put all my chips in one pot per se.
Yeah.
I have some coming from a company that, I founded like 2 years ago that I ended up selling part of it. I get a portion of that every single month. I have another one from, a charity that I help that, I've managed all their online reputation. That, I mean, it doesn't bring a lot, but I have that. I have a little bit from, I even Airbnb my basement because I love
Nice.
meeting people. I mean, that's a different revenue stream, which
Hmm.
is hilarious that I do, but I really enjoy it. And I've, you know, really enjoyed that over the years, meeting people. I have them from all over. I would say my latest venture is not, it doesn't make any money right now. We give it away 100% for free, and we have a large team, and it sucks my money more than makes it, definitely. But
Yeah.
it's growing that dream, and it's growing a company that could someday be worth a lot of money and influence a lot of people and help a lot of people.
Yeah, it's nice
So
when you get to that level. If you have multiple sources of income, then you can kind of work on, I guess you could call them
yeah,
passion projects, right? That aren't making
correct. Yeah,
money. They are leveraging something else. It might be an audience, it might be skill sets.
yeah,
Um,
very much.
there's kind of two schools of thought when it comes to income. You have some people that say, go all in on one thing and focus on that one source of income. Then you have other people that are like, no, diversify. Sounds like you're kind of in the second camp, right?
Yeah, I'm more towards the second camp. I mean, I do kind of go all in on things, but I strategically go all in. I mean, so my wife and I have a policy that I make payments to her. I give her money every time I bring in money into my bank account. I give her a portion of that every single month. So that's kind of like our savings account, like our,
Pay
oh
yourself
crap.
first thing.
Yeah, kind of our pay herself, but it's more of like, she's very, she doesn't like taking risk, and I love risk. So that kind of evens us out. She gets what she wants and I get what I want. And it's really helped us. I mean, when our company, when my company went under several years back, and I was the guy in the room that had to lay off my entire staff that had been working 18-hour days, you know, it it was that money that kept us alive.
Mm.
And it's that money when, as an entrepreneur, you're going to have, 3 6 months a year where you're potentially putting out money instead of bringing it in. It's that money that we've been able to live off of. So, but I'm more the guy, I'm the guy that runs and jumps off a cliff and, has a parachute on the way down, tries to build a parachute or a plane on the way down. But she's that like rock that's like, you know, really makes me stick to my guns. It's really hard because like when I need money, she won't give it to me and
Yeah.
won't do this. Like she's pretty good about, loaning me this or doing that, but she makes sure I pay her back and stuff like that. Um,
Nice. So
but
she's kind of like your CFO in a way.
correct. She is
Yeah.
kind of like the CFO,
Sounds like
and
we
I'm
have a really
paying the
similar
CFO.
type of setup. Like my wife is, pretty conservative and I'm out, making big plays too. And she, it's good to have that balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it's good for me because, I can I always say I take calculated risk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's great. Do
I'm
you do
never
any
gonna,
like angel investing or any
yeah. So
investing in startups?
I invest fairly actively. I mean, I would say I do 4 to 5 investments a year, ranging anywhere from $10,000 up to a couple $100,000.
Nice. And what's your
Uh,
thesis? What do you look for in an investment?
Entrepreneurs.
So you invest
Uh,
in people.
I invest all in people. Yeah, well, I've invested in some of the crappiest products in the whole world, which no one would even touch. But some of them have done well, some of them haven't. But I invest in entrepreneurs.
I think that's so powerful because a lot of people, when they think of investing or they think of startups, everybody's so idea focused. But
Yeah,
really, it all comes down to execution. And
does
a lot of startups actually pivot from what they initially started working on. So if you invest in the person, and I
correct.
think that's so powerful, man. I mean, that's going to be a huge mind shift for a lot of like new angels. That I've only been investing for a couple years, and I was first so product and revenue focused that I was like, oh no, you actually have to step back and look at the person. So what do
Yeah,
you look for in an entrepreneur?
I look for passion. They have to be passionate. They have to be. it really just, I mean, it boils down to the person. And when we meet, if I have a good feeling about them, if they're really passionate about what they're doing and they actually know what they're talking about and know what they're doing. I mean, a person, a 12-year-old kid can be huge passionate that he wants a candy bar. It doesn't mean I'm going to go invest in him. But, for the people out there that are really, really passionate, credible, I kind of invest in the person and their whole idea and vision. I'm not looking for people, that have small ideas either. Like, I want big ideas because, if I'm investing in a small idea, I'm going to have a small reward. 9 out of 10 businesses fail nowadays within the first couple years.
Yeah.
And, if I'm going to spend $10,000 and, a bunch of them fail, someday I want it to be worth a lot of money. So,
you need a big
it has to be a good idea that's going to be potentially worth $100 million, where my 10,000 turns into $1 million someday. That's what I want.
Yeah. And I feel like that's really the startup space, right? Is like 90-something% strikeouts and then grand slams. It's very little base hits that make you any money.
Correct. I mean, I always say with investing, with marketing, with social media, with really anything, think of it like you would baseball. How many people get up to bat in a game? On average, like 30 some odd people from each team get up to bat, right? Or whatever it is. Doesn't matter. But like, how many people get to first base? What, like 40%?
Yeah.
40%, 50%
20,
get on first base. How many get to second base? Like, how many hit a single? How many hit a double? Like, double, maybe it's like 15%. How many hit a home run? It's, 1 out of every 36 people that get up to bat hit a home run. Think of that like investing. Like, 1 out of 36 will hit a home run. Just like marketing and social media, 1 out of 36. How many will hit a grand slam? It's like 1 out of every 1,072. That's like a unicorn. So I need to invest in like 1,100 companies to get one unicorn. Hopefully I'll have a little bit, better success like that. But just keep those in mind when you're investing in people or, stocks or social media or marketing or whatever you're doing. Just the more you're out there, the more you get up to bat, the luckier you get.
Yeah, that's really good way to look at it. A lot of people kind of go in on one idea, but it really is about diversifying, because a lot of times the companies that you think are going to go big don't. And a lot of the companies that don't look that promising end up pivoting or having something happen that you go, oh my God, they blew up.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about social media. I mean, I know you're pretty huge on Twitter. What's your favorite social media platform?
Probably Twitter. I really, really like Twitter. It's a medium that I can express. I put lots of quotes out, lots of information out, and, my audience seems to like it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking right now. You've got about 470,000 followers.
Somewhere there, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so what's your best tip for somebody that's not new to social media? I don't think anybody's really new to social media, but what's the most effective thing that you see working for building a brand right now?
Building a community. Really, it's about building that right community. For me, I blog a lot. So that helps me put out amazing content that my community wants. And those people follow me and connect with me because of that, because of that content and the information and stuff that I put out. But I'm very, very consistent in how much I put out content. I'm tweeting multiple times a day. I don't tweet and then let it go for 3 months and then tweet 3 months. Just like a friendship. Like, you can't expect a friend to be there for you and around you if you're not there for them and constantly there. If you, have a friend and you go away for 6 months, unless they know you're going away for 6 months, they're most likely not going to be the friend they were. So really build a community around you, tweet, be active. And this is for any social platform. Be very, very active and put out the type of content that they're looking for.
Yeah, you are a content beast. Like I'm always seeing stuff on. Yeah, I mean, Entrepreneur Inc., all of them. I'm always like, oh, this is a good article. Holy shit, it's
Oh,
John again.
John, there he is. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, like, how do you write? What's that process like?
So typically when I'm writing, I jot down a bunch of ideas. I use a lot of tools and software to do it. So I use a company called Searchmetrics that I do a lot with. I'm friends with, I've worked with, and I use their software to find what's trending on the internet, and I go write articles and topics about what's trending. So I'll put together a list of like 30 titles that are kind of trending and what's in right now on social media. I'll write the article, and when it goes up on a big place, if it's already popular in other people's minds and trending and a hot news topic, it'll be trending wherever you put it up. But when you put it up on bigger publications and Entrepreneur Inc., Forbes, TechCrunch, Mashable, any of those, it just amplifies it, and you're using their audience to promote you.
Gotcha. So what would you give, like some advice to somebody who's starting out? Like say you have somebody who's thinking right now, well, I don't have a blog, I don't have an audience, but I want to write for big publications. What would you say to maybe like a 18-year-old kid or a 21-year-old guy that's like, or lady that's saying, I want to write out, I have a message to share, something I'm passionate about. How would you suggest somebody get started?
My number one tip would be to start. So many people get so held back with not starting. It's just like business owners. It's just like anything. You get so consumed with that you want to do this and you want to be the biggest out there that you never start. So start and be consistent about it. I blogged 3 times a day for 6 months with nothing. I mean, you're talking, I put up 1,000 blog posts. I wrote 1,000 articles and didn't get anything. I was getting people and building a following, but I didn't get essentially anything out of it. But then I found, I started writing for other things, but, I went to other publications that are in my niche that are smaller. And I said, hey, I blog 3 times a day. I'd like to start writing for you. And that's why I write for other people, is I like leveraging their audiences to bring it part of my community. So I started off small. I started off, with a small publication. I think I started off with like bloggingtips.com, which is Zach Johnson's, one of his things. And then I went to Search Engine Journal, and then I went to Search Engine Watch, and then I went to Huffington Post, and then I went to Entrepreneur, then I went to Inc., then I went to Forbes, then I went to TechCrunch. Now I'm getting in Mashable. Next is New York Times, Wall Street Journal. But I worked my way up over time. It didn't happen overnight. I mean, this has happened over the past 3.5 years that I've been consistently writing, consistently being a part of my community and building that credibility up. Again, I'm in chapter 12. A lot of people listening might be in chapter 1. Some are in chapter 3. Some haven't even started. You have to start somewhere, which is start, and then start working your way up.
So just get the ball rolling, stop thinking about it, get the momentum building, and then you'll look back and say, oh my God, look where I was and look where I am now.
Yeah, look where I was like 3 years ago. Like I wasn't anybody.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with social media and blogging because there's so many stats and there's all these opinions and ways to optimize. What's one stat that you think in the beginning somebody should focus on? Is it unique views? Is it opt-ins? Or is there more than one?
The biggest stat that I think you should focus on is being consistent. You has nothing to do with other people. It has to do with you. It's if you're going to blog once a week or once a month or once a day or 3 times a day, whatever it is, be consistent at it. And that's one thing that I think will start leading to other things. Next metric, I mean, you got to eventually tie things back to revenue. So, it sucks. I look back 6 months and I'm like, would I have done it again? Of course I would have done it again. I probably would have focused a little earlier on trying to get at least a little money in the door. Because there's a lot of people that couldn't survive for 6 months blogging.
Yeah. Either do it as a side hustle, and
correct.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that is just hustling on your off time. If you want it bad enough, just make it happen. Just get the ball going. And I love that. Make the best stat, the first stat, be consistent. Make sure you've got your game tight.
Yep. I mean, I pay attention, on Twitter and Google Plus and Facebook to likes, clicks, how many people are engaging. I now, like, on my own personal website, like johnrampton.com, I pay attention to emailers and, on do.com, how many signups, how many people are, using the system, how many invoices they're sending, all those different things. But it first started off with me being consistent.
Yeah. Great. John, do you have a book that you would say is required reading for a new entrepreneur?
A new entrepreneur, a book. Depends on what type of an entrepreneur you are. Probably one of my favorite books. I love the 4 Hour Work Week. It's a classic.
Mm-hmm.
I really like. Oh man, totally spacing on it right now. He buys houses. Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think those are great, like foundational, like here's the basics
those are
of
good,
money
like,
and entrepreneurship. And
those are good. Like, hey, this is a foundation that I can have and I need. So those are ones that I would say, if you're starting off as being an entrepreneur, read those type of books, because they're very, very, they incentivize me as a person to want to be more.
Great. Do you have a favorite quote or a mantra that you tend to live by?
Do or do not. There is no try, Yoda. I mean, really, it's kind of don't compare my chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. It's, kind of a personal thing that I've always lived by. And I feel that every entrepreneur out there could really, learn from that. And as long as you're paying attention to that, stop comparing yourself to other people. Compare yourself to you and be happy with what you have and strive to be better.
I love it. Yeah. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Make every day one step closer. Good. Nice. Yep. John, what does true wealth mean to you?
True wealth means being happy with where you are.
There you go.
So now, whether that's with a family, which, true wealth for me is like, I'm here with my family, my friends, my business partners, I'm happy with those. But really, it's being happy with wherever you're at in life.
Nice. Well, thanks for the insight, man. I know there's going to be some guys and ladies out there that are like, oh my God, I just need to get started. Like one of the biggest things that I hear from new entrepreneurs is, how do you just get started? And I would say, just do it. Just start, right? Just stop thinking and start doing. Like, write a list of 5 actions that you can do today to take action. And you definitely gave us some stuff that we can use. So, John, where can people reach you?
I'm just johnrampton.com or at John Rampton on Twitter / John Rampton + John Rampton.
Everywhere John Rampton.
Everywhere John Rampton.
Nice. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll look forward to talking again soon. And are there any final words that you want to share with anybody?
Just be yourself, enjoy your life, and get started today.
There you go. Do it. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for being on the show, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks a lot.